Welcome back to another episode of Sibling Showdown, the best ball edition. This time we are doing another live draft, but this time it is for drafters. And drafters is a cumulative draft format. We'll go over all the differences between drafters and underdog. But it is currently in its first draft, kind of before, and it closes on NFL draft day. And then, of course, bigger ones are going to open right after the NFL draft. So that's why we kind of wanted to talk drafter strategy, and then run through a drafter's draft. So then that way we can, be ready when the bigger tournaments hit too. And of course, we're going to be doing more drafter shows, more drafter strategy. So let me bring in my sibling, my brother, Steve. Steve, how are you doing? And you excited to do a drafter's draft today?
Yeah, doing well. These early best balls, definitely a lot more volatile, obviously, without knowing where everyone's going with the draft and even some still free agents out there. But, yeah, I think it's good to start getting our feet wet, start understanding like kind of the value, where value might be occurring, and just seeing, sometimes if you get a guy early, you might get him 2 or 3 rounds different than where he's going later in the summer. So,
Exactly.
so
Yeah,
it
you
can
you and
just
I were
be,
just looking at that, talking about that, about guys and especially rookies that get steamed up throughout the summer once people start getting really excited about them.
yeah, rookies, and then just guys fighting for, second and third year guys who get the opportunity. And right now it's all speculative, but
Mm-hmm.
that turns if in July we hear Tyquan Thornton is easily the Patriots' number 1 receiver, number 2 receiver behind Juju, and then you're like, okay, yeah, I really want to take him instead of a guy who's going to play 10 snaps a game. He's now playing 50 snaps a game.
Right, right. Yeah, no, this is the time to kind of speculate, try to find the edges, maybe take some shots on some rookies or those type of receivers that might get steamed up later. But while we're waiting, again, let me go over and look over, wait for the draft room to get filled up. While we're waiting, um, to start our live draft, let's talk through drafters and the differences from, of course, underdog. Of course, there's DraftKings too to do best ball. Best ball is just really going to the moon, as far as their growth each year, and those are the three sites to do it. And underdog and drafters, we like both of them, but they offer different things. So with drafters, the differences are, you are still in a round or with 11 other people. So you're drafting, there are 12 people drafting. It's 20 rounds. Biggest thing, some big things to keep in mind is it is full point PPR. So that is a big difference from underdog, which is half point PPR. But the biggest difference with drafters is that it's cumulative scoring. And we will talk about that more at length here and on other shows this spring and summer. Cumulative scoring as opposed to underdog and DraftKings, where you're in a tournament format. So weeks 1 through 14 is the regular season. If you make it to the playoffs based on the advancement rate of whatever tournament you were in, you would then go quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, week 17. That is much, much, much different than cumulative scoring. And so that's honestly the biggest difference to keep in mind. And again, we love underdog, we love drafters, we love doing it all. But you have to keep in mind what the scoring is, what the nuances are, and stuff like that is huge, to keep in mind for as you're drafting, and how your draft strategies should play out. Of course, before we get started, be sure to like this episode, and of course subscribe to the Fanspeak Network, because we are going to be doing, again, weekly best ball strategy shows, weekly live drafts, which are just going to be so fun to watch, the best ball season evolve here as we try to get into a ton of these tournaments, which are so fun. Steve and I did have a lot of success last year making playoffs and advancing to the finals. I was in the BBM3, and we want to run that back this year. So we're really excited to do a lot of these strategy shows and live draft shows. Again, if you are new to drafters, please be sure to use the code Fanspeak. If you use the code Fanspeak, you'll get a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So, $100 of free drafts does not sound like a bad idea to take some swings at some major, huge prize pools. So again, Steve, let's talk. We're waiting for a couple people still to start the live draft. Let's talk about this cumulative scoring and drafters. I'm going to kind of hit the highlights of what I think I might do differently on drafters as opposed to underdog or other best ball sites, and then you can speak to that. So because it's cumulative scoring, I think I'm going to lean a little more into the hero QB. With that, when I say hero QB, I mean whoever you are projecting is probably like the top 5 quarterbacks. Just because if I can really nail down that top, one of those top QB scores, I really think that is going to give you an edge. Whereas I think you can cobble it together a little more with underdog. That and then that way, especially in the advancement rates in playoffs, if one guy's off, if one guy's hurt, there's some different nuances there. I really like the hero QB idea for drafters specifically. With that said, if you are doing a hero QB or hero tight end, Travis Kelce, or a top quarterback, I think you're fine on drafters doing, it looks like it's going to be starting here soon. So I will take a pause and then we will get back to that, see where we're at. I think we'll still have about 2 minutes here. And it looks like I am pick 10. So just to get the brain ready there, I am pick number 10. But yeah, if you are hero QB or hero tight end, I think you could get away with drafting 2 to let you then have a lot more quantity of running backs and receivers. And then I think another nuance is, injuries can really kill you in underdog if you have a player that is injured. Whereas drafters, if you load up, if you get a player that plays most of the season but is injured for whether it's the end or the middle for just a small period of time, may not hurt you as bad. The guy that won last year, actually worked with him at Run Pure Sports. He did not have a quarterback basically his last 2 weeks. He had Jalen Hurts that just racked up the points in cumulative scoring. So that's why I think you can maybe get away with drafting just 2 quarterbacks or just 2 tight ends. And I really think you can lead into what your positional rankings are. So those are kind of the approaches that I like for cumulative scoring. But the biggest point I know you'll want to speak to is, weeks 1, 2, 3, 4 matter just as much as week 17 because it's cumulative scoring. So what would you say to all kind of my strategy points for drafters drafts as we wait?
Yeah, just to follow up, like you were saying, the team that won this all last year, not only was he missing Jalen Hurts those final 2 weeks, week 16, 17, but his only other quarterback on the roster was Zach Wilson. He literally got 2.5 points combined those 2 weeks from his quarterback position and still won. That's incredible. That would not happen on any playoff format. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that just talking about the weeks 1 through 2 is even on underdog, it's or DraftKings, those weeks, yes, it can help you get to the playoffs, but after that, those points that you got don't matter. Now they still do. And that's just really big because we don't know when these top guys are going to go off. And it's not just quarterbacks, it's any position. The Justin Jeffersons, the CMCs, Derrick Henry missed the last game of the year. Eckler, right. all these top guys, we know they're going to get some mega spike weeks. We just don't know when. And so this format helps protect you. But drafts is starting, so I know we can.
Yeah. We'll get back to some strategy when we get some breaks and we can recap some more of the strategies at the end. So it did go, the draft began, and it did go, of course, Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey. Again, keep in mind, full point PPR here. So at the 10, pick number 10, and then the turn, I'll have pick number 15. Who are you liking that obviously may still be there?
Well, at 10, I think Devontae Adams might not get there. I think he's roughly ranked 9th right now. Mm-hmm. But if he's there, I think
Kelce just went. We talked about how Kelce is a great pick in drafters.
I think he's incredible. Obviously any of those receivers are fine at 10. But the one I hope to get there is Adams. I do think.
I mean, if Eckler's still there, I have interest as a PPR. I know the situation's murky, but it's worth taking a shot on. Let's see. If pick 5 is about to go off, then we'll have a few more that went Tyreek Hill. So, they still have obviously 4 picks until my pick. Would there, who, in case both Eckler and Devontae Adams are gone, which let's see, just went Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Cup. So 2 picks. We'll see what happens here, and then I'll know. I'll get one of them. So at least I'm going to go with one of these 2 because I absolutely agree with you. At this point, with who's on the board, it is the two highest, and Eckler and Devontae. I'm kind of tempted to take Eckler and get that PPR.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's a
and get
strong
that
play.
lock up that strong running back, and then
Yeah.
I can lock in some other PPR guys. So I'm going to draft Austin Eckler at pick 10. I'll be up again at pick 15. I mean, I don't think Devontae Adams is going to fall there, but you know, here are their PPR rankings. I mean, ours could obviously differ, and that's fine. Who are other ones that you'd like to queue up or have interest
Well,
in?
Garrett Wilson, we
Yeah,
officially now have a quarterback for him in Aaron Rodgers.
yeah.
I think Jalen Waddle, obviously just an ascending player. You talked about the hero quarterback. You could pop one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Hurts, Allen, Mahomes. I mean that's
Yeah,
those three
because I
guys.
mean, I will say by the time it gets Devontae Adams just went, then Barkley, then Taylor. I'm up next. Um, yeah, by the time it gets back to me, I
Yeah,
mean, I could potentially still get like a okay. So Monra, so it would either be a quarterback here for me,
or Garrett
or
Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson here.
Okay.
Um, but I'm probably targeting a quarterback unless there's a massive run and the top five go and then there's a gap. Unless there's a massive run, I'm probably going to be targeting a quarterback at pick 34 here. So let me excuse me, talk through. I don't think that Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen's, probably even Patrick Mahomes, will be there. If they are, I would be interested in any of those three. Um, I mean, I wouldn't reach for Justin Herbert, but geez, I consider him to be a potential hero quarterback. So maybe I could even wait till 39 or something like that. I mean, though that's hard to believe. His ADP is 53.
Yeah, I think he disappointed a lot of people last year. He came in as a top three quarterback.
We did have
Um,
I'm just going to interrupt you really quick. We did have the run on quarterbacks that
yeah,
I just predicted with Josh Allen, Mahomes, then Jalen
yeah,
Hurts. So we'll see what happens here and where that leaves me. If the total run on quarterbacks happens, I may wait a little bit and then target Justin Herbert because I do think there's going to be an improvement there.
yeah.
But we could talk that through as it gets a little bit closer. But let's talk through. I mean, I like Herbert, but is there anybody that you think, if they're still here in this range, like a Burrow, um, any of these other guys above Herbert that
Well,
you think will be worth a 34?
Well, one thing that I think you have a very good shot of doing is potentially like Trevor Lawrence and pairing him with Ridley with
Mm.
your next two picks, 34, 39. So I think that, something you could definitely do. It would be a reach for Lawrence, but it's a way to get the stack. It's not always easy to get the stack. That's one way to do it. Um,
I mean, I think you could definitely wait till 39 on Lawrence. I think,
yeah, and then maybe get Kirk at 58. So
yeah, Burrow just went, because I had some interest in him too. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think Lawrence or Herbert, because you could try to pair Lawrence, and then one of the other strategies I wanted to talk about, and it goes for any type of honestly best ball, is I don't think you need to overstack in drafters, but I still think you need to correlate. You're obviously not correlating week 17, matchups, but you can. I still like team correlations, but I don't think you have to get like a quarterback and a bunch of his receivers. You can get. I'm up in one pick. You could get like a quarterback, or running back, tight end, or quarterback, running back, run receiver. So hell, if Eckler stays, I don't mind. An Eckler,
yeah.
Herbert start. In fact, I actually kind of love it.
Well,
um,
what who are you looking at
Okay,
34
so
though?
yeah, we could go Herbert and Lawrence feel like a reach here. Do you
Yeah.
like Debo, Cooper, Ridley? We could grab Ridley in case we decide to go um uh Lawrence. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Ridley. I really think that offense is going to be one of the better ones in the league. So I like Ridley.
I mean, I just like gaining exposure to some of the best offenses in the
Yeah,
league. So I'm going to go Calvin Ridley with that pick. And then I'm kind of open here that I can do and I have a stack, unless both Herbert and um, Lawrence go, I will have some kind of stack already in place if I take a quarterback here, which I'd have to to lock up the hero QB, I kind of have to here. And I kind of honestly like projecting, you don't have to follow ADP exactly. If, you think that I don't obviously believe that Herbert and Lawrence would be there at my pick 58.
Yeah.
So if I believe that they're worth it here, and I do, I'm going to take Justin Herbert. I just think this year is going to be much better than last year. And, I already have him stacked. And, I think this could be a top 5,
Yeah.
top 10
Well,
offense. So
well,
go ahead.
just to speak on that,
Yes, please.
Kellen Moore is now the
Yep.
offense coordinator, obviously coming from Dallas. We go back to 2020. That was that was the year that Dak only played 5 games, 6 games. But in that time, Dallas was like the number 1 and number 2 offense in the league in terms of points and yards, particularly passing. 2021, Dak's back. They led the league in the NFL in scoring. Last year, obviously, Dak missed some time. I think they finished 3rd in scoring, even with Dak missing, 5.5, 6 games. And, you look at it, when Dak came back, that team was number 1 in scoring. So, they were outscoring the Chiefs.
Right.
And he goes and has another good quarterback, obviously Eckler, Williams, Allen, Everett might be adding some weapons here in the draft. So yeah, there's a lot of things to like with that offensive projection, especially if the offensive line actually stays healthy this year. They had major issues, injury-wise, defensively and at wide receiver, but it was also the offensive line. They lose Rashawn Slater, their elite left tackle, early in the season, and Herbert was just under pressure, and that's why he was dump-off city the rest of the way.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I like speculating, honestly, all summer long, but especially early on in the best ball season, speculating, where people, maybe have the Chargers farther down or Herbert farther down, speculating that, no, this is going to be a top 5 offense. And I want multiple pieces of it. I queued some guys that I like. I think here, we could go running back or receiver. There has been a bit of a run, on some of the running backs that I like. Obviously, you had the Brees, Chubb, Henry, Brees Hall, Najee Harris. So I don't know if you have some strong opinions in the running back area here, as we're about 3 picks away, or if we can grab Mike Williams and just have that stack. There's obviously the rookie Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, who's obviously a great PPR receiver. With all the guys I have queued up, are there any running backs you like, and who would you target in this range?
I would probably if it's Mike Williams, I think you take him. Then it's
unfortunately Mike Williams just went. Yeah.
So I like all these guys. We don't know obviously where Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to land, but it could be a very good spot.
Well, let me ask you this: with one pick away, do you like Dobbins, or would you take another receiver here? Because I do like Dobbins.
I think I'd take a receiver.
Okay. So it's Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, or Mike Evans, if you wanted to just go bet on talent.
I would probably take Jackson Smith-Njigba, and just bet on the upside here. Yeah.
Okay.
You already have 2 other receivers who are should be studs. Obviously, Calvin Ridley coming off the suspension, but I mean this guy was incredibly talented with Matt Ryan. He now gets a fresh start. So you can.
Okay. So just to break down with coming up again in 3 picks, I have 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 3 receivers. So, I could get a more of a hero type tight end. No, it's not Kelsey, but I could get a Kittle type and then only really have to do 2 tight ends, or I could, go back to the well in that receiver range, or I could look running backs. I mean, again, I mentioned how I like Dobbins. There's obviously rookie Jamar Gibbs.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jamar Gibbs, especially in PPR formats. This is a guy who could have 60 catches as a rookie. He's extremely talented catching the ball.
Well, Dobbins just went, so I am going to go ahead and we're going to go back-to-back rookies here, and we got Gibbs as our second running back. Obviously, we're taping this before the draft. We'll see what his land. We have some time to talk about this for a minute. We see what his landing spot is and see how we feel about that in hindsight. You have 20 picks, so again, especially if I only do 2 quarterbacks because I got Herbert, that'll let me get maybe more like 6 running backs, and I can feel a little more comfortable there. Even though I took a rookie as my second, and you make a great point about how he can be like a PPR type back too. So I like that call. Looking at the entire board, with some time, the only thing that left of the queued was Rodgers, just because I like to queue where there is correlation, and I queued Rodgers just because I think that would be a good second quarterback, considering I have Garrett Wilson as my top receiver. So, and obviously, I think he could have a big bounce back year. There was a lot of issues in Green Bay last year, so I queued that. But who else would you like to queue here? We're heading into the 7th round.
Well, if you could highlight pick a position, it's just easy to highlight from position. So sure. Pacheco would stand out to me. Damian Pierce also.
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely the Texans draft a running back high. Not impossible, but I think it's unlikely. I'd go to receiver next.
Yeah, I like those two a lot, though, to speak to.
I think Deontay Johnson and Brandon Cooks are in good spots. I mean, Deontay Johnson, obviously a very ascending offense. Brandon Cooks, as we just mentioned, they do lose their offense coordinator, but he could be the number 2 receiver, or should be the number 2 receiver in what has been historically a top 5 offense the last couple of years, and they still have their guy. So I
keep it going, because a lot of these guys might be going. We can't spend too much time on these guys because they could be gone. Deontay Johnson just went. I don't know if you think you wanted to. Kittle's gone. Let's see.
I think Evan Ingram's a fine value there. So he'd be a guy I would take.
Didn't get Lawrence, but I do have Ridley, but I'll still highlight him. I'm up in like 5 picks. Pacheco just went. I did really like him. I think if Damian Pierce is there, Cooks just went. That's why. Jahan Dotson, I did highlight. I do. Obviously, I'm wearing a Washington sweatshirt. I mean,
I think Cortland Sutton. I think Sean Payton can hopefully get Russ back on track, and could unlock some potential in this offense. So.
Yeah, I mean, if I went Lawrence, I definitely would take Ingram here, but because I didn't, I think I may still. Okay, so basically all the running backs I queued went because Pacheco went and Damian Pierce. Like, really quick, you don't like anybody else in this range, correct?
Not really, no.
Okay. Would you go Jahan Dotson or Cortland Sutton?
I think Sutton has more upside. He could be the number 1 receiver on that team, where Dotson's going to be second fiddle to Terry as long as McLaurin's healthy.
Okay. It'll come back around. I'm kind of still in that range. You've got
one running back that I think you could take to just kind of lock in a third starter is James Conner. A bit of a reach. You maybe could hopefully wait, and he might last until your next pick. It's just a weird.
I think he'd be one I'd wait on personally, but you don't like any.
No, I mean we.
Especially with another rookie. I don't want to take another rookie right now. It's one thing if I take a rookie late. Okay, up in like 3 picks. So someone just took. If Jameson Williams was still there, I was considering him. He's going to miss the first 6 weeks due to suspension. But again, yes, this is cumulative scoring. But as long as he's a stud the rest of the time, it was just where I was getting him. So if he was there, I was going to consider him. So we have Jordan Addison, Michael Thomas, Quentin Johnson, Rashad Bateman. Don't love a lot of that.
Grab Ingram.
I don't have. I know I don't have Lawrence, but hell, he fell about 2 rounds later than I thought was going to be, to be available still. So, I'm still just getting a piece of just a high-powered offense. One of the top offenses, and that's what I'm trying to get is a piece of many of the top offenses. Or to one other point, in the case of like Denver, I think you could project Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
Some other teams, it project them that
Jets,
people,
obviously.
well, Jets, yeah, that people aren't projecting to be a high-powered offense, but I think could end up being a top offense when it's all said and done, and
Yeah,
you want to get a piece of that. So I want a piece of as many of the top offenses as possible. And so far, I have Chargers, Jets, Jacksonville, Denver. Not bad. What is Rogers' ADP? Just to look at that, I just am curious. Wanted to be cognizant of that. He's
114.
114. He might be someone I consider in round 10 just to get that correlation in a second receiver. I mean, honestly, either way, depending on who's there. Okay, so let's take a look and cue any other running backs, receivers. So, Steve, take a look at the running backs. I mean, Kamara,
Alvin Kamara, yeah.
we don't know how
He's
long.
going to miss some time, which does hurt in drafters more than, say, Underdog or
Right.
DraftKings, since those 6 weeks, let's say it's 4 to 6 weeks, those 6 weeks, just like we said, matters
Just like
just as
Jameson
much.
Williams. Yeah.
But, you're still talking about a guy who can be an elite producer the rest of the way.
Right.
But I do think this means you have to be a little bit more aggressive at the running back position than normal.
Right. Well, doesn't matter. Kamara just went.
Um,
What are they saying about how long Javonte Williams will be
I,
out?
I don't like that situation at all.
What are they saying?
They're giving no timeline, and
Okay.
I would, it doesn't sound good. You have new coaching staff. I'm almost guaranteeing they're going to bring in a mid-round running back. He
Right.
easily
Okay.
could just get lost in the shuffle.
Well, again, it's just there's no timeline on it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a talent, but he had a bad injury and there's no timeline. I'm up in one pick. So who do you like in this range?
I think Juju is a very safe pick. Obviously, you could just pop Rodgers here.
I might pop Rodgers here, honestly, just to get him, because it's not like I'm in love with any of these other ones.
Yeah, I do think there were a couple other running backs later that you could take, but they'll be there when you come back.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Let me get Rodgers. I'm up in one pick, so let me pick that, as long as this person does not. And they took. Why did it take KJ Osborne for me? What happened? I don't have it on. I don't even have him queued.
I have no idea.
Okay, well, whatever. We're going to focus. I'm going to take. I have no idea what happened there, but we're going to keep it moving. Hopefully it doesn't pick for me. I don't have it on auto pick either. Okay. I am drafting Aaron Rodgers. Okay. That's fine. Let's get a reassessment now that we have some time. So we have 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 5 receivers, 1 tight end. Again, I'm kind of probably doing more of a hero tight end and quarterback approach, most likely doing more 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, unless a third one really stands out. And then I can really load up at running back and receiver. I've already loaded 5 receivers. So now I think we need to really start queuing running backs especially, and then some more receivers. So let's talk that through. And I like Brian Robinson, obviously, again, not just because I'm wearing a Washington sweatshirt, but because I think the value in which you get him at is very good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Jamal Williams, we just talked about.
Yep.
Kamara is likely to miss a bunch of time. Those 4 to 6 weeks are just as valuable, and still he's a touchdown hunter afterwards.
Yeah.
So,
who else?
Kenneth Gainwell, we're talking about a PPR format. He's likely to be the passing back, though they could be drafting a rookie. And same with Antonio Gibson. Gibson has more value here than he does on a half point format. So those guys, I think are all.
Yeah, it's good to queue up a lot right here. Talk about them quickly because they could be gone, but queue up a lot because, again, we do have, about 10 picks until we're up. So anybody else? I mean, honestly, going down here is still close to ADP. To me, Donta Foreman, Elijah Mitchell, I don't hate it. I don't love it as much as the other ones, but I would be fine at that draft position. I'm not going to really look unless you feel like there's any insane value at receiver.
I think Juju is a good value. PPR machine.
Yeah, I'm not. I just feel like, he just went. So I was going to say, I've never been heavy on Juju in best ball.
Yeah,
But the
but
last,
in full point PPR,
yeah.
he's outscoring a
Okay,
lot of
so
guys
just
we've
to
already talked about.
summarize, Javonte Williams did go. Brian Robinson, who was my top target, went, and Kenneth Gainwell went, and Antonio Gibson
Yeah,
went. So there's been a run every time I want to.
I would lean
So
Foreman here.
I mean, I like Elijah Mitchell more than you. I mean, Shanahan utilizes his running backs. I don't know. Do you think? Are you concerned they could draft a running back? I don't
Well, not only
think
that,
they
they
drafted a
drafted a
running back.
third rounder last year who got hurt, so he's going to be in the mix. I
I mean,
mean, I'm sure
Elijah
they'll.
Mitchell has just been Shanahan's guy. So I like
Sure,
him more
but
than you, but that's okay. You know, that's the whole point is we don't always have to
this is
agree.
PPR, and he's just
Yeah.
not going to catch the ball.
I like Jalen Warren too, quite honestly. I mean, I know he's like a handcuff to Najee, but he definitely, I feel like, was used a little bit in the receiving game last year.
Yeah, but a lot of that was Najee was injured, so you're totally banking on that. Steelers historically have a guy; they do not mix running backs. So,
Well, we have nobody queued, so
Devin Achane is an interesting rookie for sure, high upside play. Um, that would probably be my lean. But I mean, if you like Mitchell or Warren, even I get it. You're looking for handcuff.
what round do you think a chain may go? I know there's a
I
big
think
drop off from.
probably late second, third round, something like that.
Okay. I mean, we obviously saw some rookies like Damian Pierce, who weren't first or second round. What round was Pierce? Fourth.
Fourth round. Brian
Yeah,
Robinson was a late third round,
late
very
third.
late.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously,
Let's
Pacheco in the seventh. So
let's cue some other, especially running backs. And I'd like to stay away from rookies for me, unless there's one that really falls that you like, and then cue some other, even some wide receivers and tight ends too, as we have time until we're up again, and then we got to have more queued this time because we go back to back. So, probably coming down more like my picks are 154, 159 in rounds 13 and 15. Of course, it starts to get thin, obviously. But in looking at the running back position first, I assume a lot of these guys will be gone. But do you have anybody in this range that you are considering or like?
well, yeah. Unfortunately, this is the range of rookies and guys who don't have teams outside of Raheem Mostert and
Mhm.
Mitchell at the top. So, Mostert I think is fine, but otherwise, yeah, we're taking shots on guys who we don't know where they're going to be. So, uh, after Mostert, I think there's cases to be made for a few guys, but more so likely the rookies. They're likely to get first crack at a lot of these situations. You
I mean,
just
I'm
have to
still
hope
going to
they get the right
highlight the
one.
handcuff situations because at this point, that honestly worked for me last year in best ball. I mean, it's not like you can't bank on injury, but sometimes that just if they're your fifth, sixth, running back, then I think it's fine to have exposure to that. Again, at this point, you're not going to be in love with anybody. That's why I do wish I would have gotten a third running back I was really comfortable with. We'll talk about it in hindsight. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell just went. Let's look at highlighting others. Who in this range do you like receivers? I mean, I'll highlight some of the ones I like. Who
Yeah,
else?
no, I mean, I think obviously Rondell Moore is good for a PPR format. He's going to get a million catches if he can stay on the field. Um, you could go down. Um, Josh Downs, but that's probably around like in the 3 picks from now would be like where you take Josh Downs.
Okay, so I mean, I'm fine with the receivers we highlighted there. I just want to take a look at tight ends. I know we don't have Russell Wilson, and we have um, Sutton, but I do like Dulcich as a second tight end. I don't mind some of the rookies. And then, of course, if you really wanted to, since we didn't get a receiver, and this I might be comfortable with three tight ends, even though we got Evan Ingram. So I
I
had,
think I'd still do three tight ends with Ingram. I don't think he's,
yeah, it's
you
not
know,
like it was Kelsey or
yeah,
Kittle. I think if it was Kelsey or even Kittle, maybe Hawkinson, even you could make a case for two. But I kind of like the idea of three. So I highlighted Dulcich, who just went, um, Everett, who would correlate with Herbert, and Michael Mayer, the rookie. Looking at the whole picture, and because I'm up in two. Um, I, let's see. We're in the 13th round. I have four running backs, and I don't feel good about any of them. Or excuse me, I only feel good about Eckler, and I like the rookie. But I really want to draft a non rookie, so I'm leaning towards um,
yeah,
Jalen Warren. Mostert just went. I was going to talk it through between the two of them, but I'd like to get Jalen Warren. I was impressed with him last year. I know you liked him later in
yeah,
drafts last
yeah.
year.
Oh yeah. No,
Again,
I
it's not
think
like
he's a
we're like
strong
taking him
handcuff.
in the, yeah, we're not taking him in the 10th round or the, seventh, eighth, ninth. We're taking him in round 13 here.
And
So
one thing I will say,
we'll come back
handcuff.
up in three just
Yeah,
to keep.
handcuffs are even better in this format than say a tournament format.
Right. Right. And we'll speak to that
And I'll
after
get
we
to
make
that.
this
Yeah.
pick. Yeah. Let's speak to that after we
So
make this pick.
I
So I
like,
think we can go any of the picks here. So looking at the whole board, I have CJ, or excuse me, Alec Pierce and Nico Collins highlighted. Gerald Everett, that's kind of probably reaching around, but he probably won't be there. So do you like going Everett? Do you like going like a Nico Collins, Josh Downs, or there's really nothing at running? So what
yeah.
do you like?
I would lean Collins just because I think there's plenty of tight ends that you could get. But
Actually, I'm going to correlate. I really like correlating Everett, because I did not get Herbert's receivers. So I really like correlating Herbert, Eckler, and Gerald Everett as my second tight end. So because I feel, you know, pretty good about my receivers. It's not to say that I don't still want to get some solid ones here, but uh, and to your point, Nico Collins did it went. I picked Everett. It went Higby, Collins, um, and then so our board left. So again, just to summarize, we have
so
two quarterbacks. Let me just read this really quick: two quarterbacks, five running backs, five receivers, and two tight ends. So pretty balanced right now. I think I with let's see, 15, six picks left. I want to get you know one more tight end, probably three more receivers and two more running backs, somewhere in that range. Would you say?
yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. So
Go
one thing
ahead.
I wanted to just speak on the handcuffs being better
Mm-hmm.
is unless the handcuff is in a situation where the starting running back's injured and out for the rest of the way, again, going back to the playoff format, if you get a handcuff running back that say spikes, for instance, Khalil Herbert had a game where David Montgomery went out
Yep.
early and he had like a 25-point game last year. That's that helps you week 5 or whatever it was. But again, not Khalil Herbert had zero value once you get to the playoff time.
Right.
Here, the 25-point game is big. So these types of guys, Naj misses a game or leaves a game early, and Jalen Warren gets 2 touchdowns and gets a 20-plus point game. That's great. Doesn't matter the week that it happens. So I
Right.
actually think it does lend itself a little bit more in this format.
Right. Because it doesn't mean that you're banking on Naj being out the end of the season or the whole
Yeah.
season. You're just
No, it's
saying
just missing
maybe he
out a
has a
game or two.
couple. Yeah, exactly. And so I agree with the handcuffs having a little more value. And we'll speak to the whole every week means the same as
Yeah.
opposed to now there we are up in
Tim
three.
Patrick, I know you have Sutton, Curtis Samuel, I think is fine. Uh, can you go down a little
Also,
further?
Michael Mayer coming up. Just wanted to let you know
Yeah,
the two rookie tight
you
ends are
could take
coming up.
also Conklin for the other stack.
Okay, so I highlighted those three tight ends. I have Tim Patrick, Curtis Samuel, highlight receivers, and
How do you feel about having two Broncos receivers?
I'm high on the Broncos with
Yeah,
under Sean Payton. Again, I know similar to Jacksonville, I didn't get their quarterback, but I'm high on having exposure to their offense. So let me look at my queue here. I don't know. What do you think about a third tight end with one of these rookies, or do you think they'll still be there?
I think they'll still be there.
Okay, so you really like Tim Patrick in a bounce back year this
I
year.
do. I do.
Okay.
And there are outcomes where either Judy or Sutton, who we did take, gets traded, and Patrick becomes a clear cut starter.
Okay. Okay. Um, running into the going into the 16th round up in 3 picks. I kind of like getting my third tight end. I really like the rookies of Michael Mayer. I know we have a lot of rookies, and we'll talk about every week means the same again after this draft. But I think by the end of the season, these or mid to late season, these rookies can really break out. And especially this is our third tight end. So what do you think about Mayer and Kincaid? Or if we
Yeah,
wanted to
no,
correlate
I think
Conklin.
either's fine. I
Who's
think
your who's your favorite?
I think Mayer. I think there's a
Do you think it has the highest upside?
well, it depends on where they land, but yeah, I just think Mayer probably is going to appeal to more teams that I'd be interested in. Like, for instance, I think teams like Dallas and the Bengals could very much be in the tight
Mm-hmm.
end mix, and I think both of those teams would prefer Michael Mayer.
Yeah, and that's another great point is, those are offenses I want to be attached to, right? So if Michael Mayer does land there, then, well, I'm being attached to Dallas or
Yeah.
the Cincinnati offense, and I really like that.
And
So
even if he
good.
goes to Green Bay, it's still going to be good. But
Right, right, right. Um, okay, so just a quick count here. So I have, let's see, 17, 18. So I just have 4 picks left. I'm good on tight ends. I have 3 tight ends. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receivers. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2,
five running
5 running backs and 2 quarterbacks. So I'm good on quarterbacks. I'm good on tight. I'm happy with quarterback. I'm happy with tight end. It was 4 picks left. Um, I don't know. I'd probably just say one more running back because they're all crap here or
yeah, but
crapshoot.
what I will say is it wouldn't be bad to have seven just to take shots at some of these guys, even if it is handcuffs, even if it is a guy like I know you have Fournette highlighted. We
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe he goes to a great spot, maybe he goes to a horrible spot. But since you have a lot of uncertainty at the top, including
Yeah, that's true.
unfortunately including even Eckler. I mean, we're hoping that he stays with the Chargers, but there
Right,
are there
right.
are outcomes
Yeah,
where
running back is the position I'm least,
so.
confident about, obviously. So I would agree with that. Yeah. Oh, and just learn to get comfortable with the format. I see that it accounts for you too. So I have 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 6 receivers, and 3 tight ends. So yeah, I
If
mean
you
to
want
end with like
to
seven
highlight a
and
couple, you're about to come up. So
yeah, yeah. Just to finish my thought, to have 7 running backs and 8 receivers is fine with me. What running backs do you find interesting here with 2 picks to go?
So there's definitely a couple rookies that are interesting. Evans and Chase Brown, particularly James Robinson. He could be fighting for the Patriots' number 2 role, which we've historically seen to be pretty
Yeah,
pretty valuable.
that's a valuable
Um,
role. Yeah,
Going down further,
yeah. I'm up in one
not
just to
necessarily
like.
for this pick, but like Gus Edwards, he re-signed, kept his contract. So
I just want to take a look at receiver.
Cedric
Um,
Tillman is a rookie I like a lot.
okay, well, I have I just have one rookie receiver, one rookie tight end, 2 rookie. Okay, I am going to take. Um, I don't like anything. Wait, did James Robinson just won? I wanted somebody
Yeah.
and not a rookie. Okay. It'll buy me time. Not happy with my running back situation, but that's why we do this live and we work through this, you know, together. I wanted to kind of have one more kind of handcuff guy. I know we could get Edwards,
Yeah.
especially since we're taking 2
I
later.
mean, Matt Breida is probably the handcuff in New York still. But, as we saw last year, he had zero value with Saquon staying
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah.
But, again, Saquon misses 2 games. Breida's going to get first
Yeah. And
crack.
honestly, a guy like Gus Edwards, or to my point earlier about um, um, Jalen Warren, or even I'm up in a pick. So do you like Zach Evans?
Yeah, it's just we don't know where he's going. So he's a talented guy if he's in the right
What
spot.
round? Who's going higher, Evans or Brown? Chase Brown.
I would guess Evans, but they're
Do
very
you
all
like
very
Evans
close.
better?
Yeah, I think he's a little bit more talented. But with running backs, it's a lot of it is where they fall. As we saw
Yeah.
last year, Damian Pierce never even cracked 1,000 yards in college. Goes in the 4th round. Guys like Brian Robinson, Tyrion Smith-Davis, the guy the 49ers took, went end of the third round. Zamir White, Pierre Strong went right behind him in the fourth round. And Damian Pierce is by far the most valuable of those six
Mm-hmm.
guys. So
Sure.
it's all about landing spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I want to take, you know, okay, so I just have, sorry, I'm trying to watch the board here. Okay, I only have 2 more picks. So I'm probably gonna take 1 more running back, 1 more receiver, and have 7 and 8 just because my running back situation is so weak. So outside of Eckler, of course. So I'm going to target Gus Edwards if he's there, just because what I was trying to speak to before the pick comes up, and that's what's hard when you're live drafting and talking through. You kind of have to be like, okay, stop. I need to talk focus. But there are some those running backs that kind of get mixed in more, and it doesn't just have to be an injury. Some running backs get mixed in a little more, even as the second running back. And I feel like Gus Edwards is one of those where, and maybe it was because Dobbins was coming off the injury last year, and they didn't want to run him into the ground. But I think basically your second to last pick is fine for
historically, the Ravens have mixed in their second back.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah,
they do have a different offensive coordinator this year, so we'll see. But it's Todd Monken who's come from Georgia, and all they did was mix him back. So maybe.
Oh yeah, they were famous for mixing him back. So yeah, and I've always liked J.K. Dobbins, like playing him in DFS. I've liked him in best balls thus far.
Oh, he's
early.
Very talented.
But the Ravens, again, kind of looking at the teams and who mixes in backs more. Ravens, I think, are one of them. So I'm going to target Gus Edwards if he's there. If he's not, I'm going to throw my hands up and throw the mouse. Just kidding. I've just been frustrated with the running back situation.
Just to speak, I mean, again, I mentioned Breida. Zamir White has a very real chance to be Josh Jacobs' backup. Pierre Strong,
felt like he got nothing last year.
That's because Jacobs was so good, and
that's true. That's. I mean, he didn't even seem to spell him, at all.
No, they kind of used,
and maybe they would more in his second year. Yeah. What about Latavius Murray in Denver?
No, I don't think he's still on the team.
Oh, who's the running back outside of Vaughn? Who they started the season with?
P. Ryan.
Oh, P. Ryan. Okay, see, I'm still learning the free agency news. I'm catching up on that, learning free agency as I go. And that's why doing drafts, obviously, I'm doing a lot of drafts a week, but doing, 1 draft a week on live or more, you learn things. And I need to learn all these free agency things really in the next couple of weeks. So, okay, I'm taking Gus Edwards with my second to last pick. And now I have 2, 7, 7, 3, and I'm targeting a receiver. I like the Pittsburgh offense, and Allen Robinson's now over in Pittsburgh. I'm highlighting him. I didn't get any other pieces, or I think I got Jalen Warden. I think that could be an offense that's better this year. Any other receivers that you like in this range?
Not right there, no.
I'll scroll down in case there's any. Whoa, it's ugly. I'm going to go ahead and take Allen Robinson. So that does complete my draft. Is there a way to see? Well, I guess we can just
view your team.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So how about Steve, we take a look at the draft here, and then we'll just talk through some strategies to sum it up. So obviously I'm just going to quickly read it, and then we can talk through it. Again, I went 2 quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, 7 running backs. It's not in order, but I'll try to read them in the best order I can remember. Austin Eckler, Jamar Gibbs, Donta Foreman, Devin Achane, Jalen Warren, Zach Evans, and Gus Edwards. 8 receivers. It's too hard to go in order here, so I'm just going to read it. Garrett Wilson, obviously paired with Rodgers, Tim Patrick, Allen Robinson, Cedric Tillman, Calvin Ridley, KJ Osborne, Cortland Sutton, JSN, what should be the first rookie receiver, is my receivers. And then 3 tight ends, Gerald Everett paired with Herbert, and Evan Ingram and Michael Mayer. So again, thoughts on the team? Well, let me get your thoughts first, and then I'll kind of go through mine.
Okay. So I mean, I think once you got a guy like Herbert, and especially So if you gotten like the Mahomes, that top trio especially, then I think you can really wait on your second quarterback. Like it could be somebody super late.
Yeah.
But because you got like that next group, which is a good group of guys, and
Yeah.
as we saw 2 years ago, Herbert was one of the top three scoring quarterbacks. But I think it's good to have a better safety net in Aaron Rodgers. So I think that was really good. As for the running backs, I mean, Eckler was the number one running back
Sure.
in
Yeah.
any format last year.
Yeah.
And Jameer Gibbs,
And
he's
helped win people a lot of money last year. Let's be clear
absolutely,
about that. No matter if
absolutely.
it was drafters or underdog, Austin Eckler was winning people money.
And Jameer Gibbs, he is essentially guaranteed to be the second running back taken in the draft, probably end of the first round, maybe
Hmm.
early second round at the worst. And he is an Austin Eckler, CMC, Alvin Kamara type. Like he's not gonna,
Oh, tell me
um,
more. No, I'm just
he's
kidding.
he's
I
he's
knew.
not gonna necessarily be a 1,200, 1,500 yard rushing running back. He's going to be the guy who gets 700 to 1,000 yards rushing, but he's also going to get 700 to 1,000 yards receiving. I mean,
But
he's that type
perfect,
of
perfect
that
for
exactly.
PPR. Exactly.
So you just hope he gets to a really good landing spot. And as we said, it could be teams like Cincinnati, maybe Minnesota. They're going to cut Dalvin Cook.
Right.
A few other
Right.
spots. As for the rest of the group, I mean, Foreman right now could potentially be Chicago's number one back. I think a chain could get a nice landing spot. You got a couple nice handcuffs in Warren and Edwards,
Yeah.
and then Zach Evans, another lottery ticket.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Let's look at receiver.
So receiver, I think Wilson and Ridley are obviously your two guys. JSN, again, we're hoping for a really good landing spot, but I think he's the best receiver in the class, really good slot guy. Could a number of teams at the end of the first round are looking for receivers. So
Which could be, the top
yeah.
offenses that we talked about, wanting to get
Um,
exposure to top offenses.
and I
Yeah.
think even beyond that, you're getting a guy like Cedric Tillman. I'm sorry, Cortland Sutton. I'll get to Cedric Tillman. Cortland Sutton, who right now is a one or two in Denver, which is an offense we both are high on.
Hmm.
Tim Patrick, even the three there, I think could provide a lot of value. KJ Osborne, I know that was the auto pick. Not sure
Yeah.
what happened there, but
Not sure.
honestly,
Yeah.
We'll see.
No,
Right
where
now
they
it's
took them, it's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
right now Justin Jefferson is the guy, but we don't know what's beyond that. And they could
Right.
take a receiver in the first, but if they don't, boy, KJ Osborne stock's going to skyrocket because they don't have a second rounder since they traded that for Hawkinson.
Yeah,
So
that
they
could have
would
been a
not.
happy accident. Yeah.
And then receive tight end. I think you got three guys. I mean,
Yeah.
Ingram and
Love the
Everett,
tight
we
ends.
know attached to really good offenses.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ingram had just a great year, and Everett again going back to Kellen Moore now offense coordinator. Look who was doing well with
Yeah.
Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
Tight ends really had a lot of value there. So, and then once again another rookie, but a talented rookie, Michael Mayer, one of the best tight ends we've seen in the last couple of years in the draft, not named Kyle Pitts. Hopefully he goes to a really good landing spot and is putting up good numbers. And this is the way, if you're not going to get Kelsey
Hmm.
or hope for the bounce back for an Andrews or Kittle,
Hmm.
getting three strong tight ends in high upside plays can get you the scoring that you need at the position.
Right. No, I like it overall. If I could just give a couple of quick thoughts, and then we'll talk strategy a little bit longer and get out of here. But yeah, I'd say generally, love the two quarterbacks I got. To your point, got one in my mind, a hero quarterback, and then but because it wasn't the top three, getting Rodgers, I think is really good. Correlated them both. Um, Rogers, of course, I correlated with my top receiver in Garrett Wilson, and Herbert, I correlated in with Eckler and Gerald Everett. Wasn't able to get Mike Williams, got picked right before my pick came up. So, but I'm okay with that because to your point, you talked about Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz has a soft spot in my heart because, as you know, I had a big Dallas stack in the BBM3 last year. I was in the BBM3 finals. Dalton Schultz started Thursday night with 2 touchdowns, and I was looking really good. It's just a lot of the guys that need to just do what they usually do, didn't do what they usually do that Sunday. So, again, that was getting exposure to a top offense in Dallas, and it didn't have to. I didn't have Dak with CD Lamb. I had Dak with Ezekiel Elliott, Dalton Schultz, and like the receiver that came kind of partway through the season back from injury in Michael Gallup. So I'm fine with stacking a running back, especially in this format, kind of getting that team stack, and it doesn't have to be a receiver. So love the Herbert, Eckler, Everett stack. And then, yeah, my running backs are weak overall, in my opinion, outside of Eckler. But like you said, Jamar Gibbs is a great PPR back. And then, there's some great handcuffs and kind of just potential there. But definitely a little nervous about the running back position. Hoping Eckler and Gibbs really, fill out most of my weeks scoring. And I think my receivers are solid overall. No, I don't have that alpha. Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, of course, because of my pick number. But like, having that combination of my top three being Garrett Wilson, Ridley, and the rookie JSN, I really like. And then again, I really think that's a strong tight end group too. To your point, to make up kind of the scoring that like a Kelsey or Kittle would do. So, overall, I think there's some things that could be improved. I probably would have wanted my running back group to be a little stronger, but I like my exposures overall, and I'm, happy overall. But that's why you do this. You just kind of work through and keep trying to improve, and um, and working through the exposures you want to get. But I want to get exposure to what I think are going to be the top offenses, and in some cases, it's what everybody thinks is going to be the top offenses, like the Chiefs, and in some cases, they're going to be maybe a little sneakier, like the Broncos. I think the Jets will grow on people now that the Rodgers deal's done. So let's talk about that. And we talked about some of the strategies earlier about Hero QB, and we implemented that. And the just two quarterbacks, if you do that, and we kind of implemented that. I just talked about like the benefit of maybe doing team stacks. Doesn't always have to be with a receiver, but maybe running back, tight end along with the quarterback and getting team stacks, but not necessarily overstacking. Let's talk about really quick before we get out of here, like the value of drafters where, week 1, 2, 3, 4 mean the exact same as week 17. Whereas on Underdog, in DraftKings, week 15, 16, 17, they say that's where the money's made. That's true. Every week matters in this equally. So speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah. And actually just following up on the point you just made with team stacks, it's even better in this kind of format, because one issue that team stacks when you're talking about a running back or, even that tight end, Gerald Everett definitely had a couple strong weeks last year. But, they're not always correlating with Herbert's best weeks. Here, if Herbert just has an average week and Everett has a good week, like, again, that it's all counting. Same with the running back situation. Excuse me. Like getting all that Chargers offense, that if their offense soars to, top 5, like we're talking about, that's fantastic. And you're not having to worry about the running back taking away from your potential quarterback, in the playoff weeks where, that could happen, in on the other types of formats. But yeah,
right.
These early weeks are just as important, and that's what's great about this is we know, especially these high offenses that we're projecting, we know they're going to have good matchups, and we can't always know if those even if it is the same team that they're playing, like in division, let's say the schedule comes out and the Chargers and Chiefs are playing week 5 and week 16, so the semifinal week in a playoff format. We hope that that's a week 16's big, but what if there are some big injuries? It might turn out to be being a big dud week on one side or the other, but that week 5 could be what we saw last year from the Chargers and Chiefs. We saw 2 massive shootout games. So if that, week 5 is that, 38-35 game, and, Justin Herbert's putting up, 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and, 1 or 2 are going to Eckler, then boy, you're looking great. And obviously you're hoping it repeats in week 16 just as well. But if it doesn't, you still got that. And,
right.
And that's what's really great is we're ensuring that we're getting the best out of this offense, and it's mattering as much. And,
yeah, basically you got to keep telling yourself every week
Yeah.
means the same. Every week means the same. It's cumulative scoring.
Exactly. And so for, again, some of these, like, rookies historically start a little slow, and, without
That's what I was going to ask. Do you have any concern that I have 5 rookies or so.
Not entirely, and this is the strength of only needing to take 2 quarterbacks, so it allowed that extra running back position because you do have 3 rookie running backs. And Gibbs, I think we feel pretty good about no matter
Yeah.
what. But a Chain and Evans, it's going to be a lot about landing spot and
Yeah.
opportunity. But the same would have been true if you drafted some veteran like a Fournette or Elliott or somebody who doesn't currently have a team. It's all about landing spot.
Right.
Um,
But once we know where their landing spot is, and especially then once we get into, the training camp, these are the type of guys that got steamed up. Damian Pierce was literally, I think, the most skyrocketed player last year in best ball.
yeah.
Why? Because he went 4th round. He went to the Texans. He didn't have a ton of competition, and then great reports during training
Yeah.
camp. You saw him in preseason. You were like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I got to get a piece of exposure to this guy. And he went from, I don't know what his draft position was to, gosh, what, like into like the 80s or 90s, right?
Oh
For
yeah,
Pierce?
yeah.
Yeah.
Even higher at the very end
Yeah,
once
at the very
preseason
end.
started. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because once preseason starts. So that's what I mean. Yes, it's speculative on some of those rookies, but, you know, getting them now, it's a risk. But if they do go the right landing spot, if they, if one of them, hell, if just one of them has a Damian Pierce like, landing spot slash, kind of outcome and performance in the preseason, then I got him way lower than what I'd get him in August, right?
No, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
No
So
doubt about that.
you don't mind taking rookies for that reason, and you don't mind taking rookies in this format because even though every week means the same, again, if they pile up a solid performances week 7 through 17, then that's good, especially where we're taking these rookies.
Yeah, and again, it receivers can be a little tougher to predict, but while people say rookies perform better late, Jahan Dotson performed better early for
Yeah,
Washington last
yeah,
year.
yeah.
And a couple you could point to a couple other receivers. I mean, Garrett Wilson, his thing was obviously
The
just all
quarterback,
the
yeah.
bad Zach Wilson weeks. Week 2, when he still had Joe Flacco, he had a 30-point game against the
Right,
Browns,
right,
and then he had a couple of big games with Mike White. So
right.
um, I think rookies and look at tight ends. You took Michael Mayer. People say tight ends historically, rookies, you don't draft tight ends, et cetera, et cetera. But look at the tight ends last year. It was not nearly as strong a class. Dulcich, he missed a bunch of games to start the season, missed a couple games near the end. He still had multiple
Productive weeks, yeah.
15-point games. Trey McBride, who obviously was behind Zach Ertz for the first half of the year, had about 18 different quarterbacks that take snaps for the Cardinals. I think week 17 he had like 25 fantasy points. So,
Oh, well, I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
I mean, nobody knew because nobody was playing Cardinals.
No, no, definitely not.
But look at Isaiah Likely. He
Yeah.
had a couple of big games at the end. Daniel Bellinger had a game or two. So you just can find these guys. Chig Okonwu
Oh,
for
yeah.
Tennessee, and again in a situation with just some terrible, terrible quarterback play. So,
Oh, yeah.
Kate Otten had a couple games, and he was splitting time with Cameron Brate and Kyle Rudolph, and
Yeah.
obviously the Bucks offense was not what we were expecting. So, and Jelani Woods, same thing. Jelani Woods, week 3 it was against the Chiefs, had the 2 touchdowns. It's
Right.
just like you can get these guys, and yeah, I wouldn't necessarily. Now Mayer, I think, is a little different, but those rookies, I would not have been counting on them week in, week out. But you take a rookie as your 3rd tight end.
As I say, it's 3rd tight end. It's not your first
And a
tight
guy
end.
like
Yeah.
Mayer or Kincaid, who was also in consideration, those are the guys who could be like the Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Maybe not that extreme, like a 1,000-yard season, but a guy who's just going to be a day one starter and full starter. All the
Right.
guys that I mentioned were competing for time. Some dealt with injuries. Some had to have other situations. But yeah, these guys I think can be really good. And yeah, they're not going to hit every week, and they're not going to be consistent like some of the top end guys like Hawkinson, Kittle, Andrews, et cetera, and obviously Kelsey's Kelsey. But they're going to have some big weeks. So if you're
Yeah.
not getting those premier tight ends, I think taking a shot for a guy like Mayer Kincaid is really, really smart. And even some
Absolutely.
later ones, like I said, can get you
Absolutely.
those few big weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially again, it's your third tight end. So I think we talked through, we went over an hour and we, talked through drafter strategy. We did a live draft. We talked through my team and then we talked through, kind of more of that strategy and really hammering home the cumulative weeks and every week means the same. But we're going to do more of these. We're going to do more, shows just about drafters strategy. And we're going to do more shows doing drafters drafts this spring and summer. So this was just our first one. Again, if you watch this before Thursday, there is a contest that fills up Thursday. May even be some overlay. If you aren't on drafters yet, use code Fanspeak and get 100% deposit bonus up to $100 to get yourself some free drafts. If you watch this after the draft, still use that code Fanspeak if you're new, but there's going to be, I guarantee, their big tournament is going to be released very soon after the draft because they know that the excitement after the draft of where these rookies land is going to have people really in the best ball streets. So with that, I think we will head on out of here and, definitely be back next week for, we're going to be breaking down where these rookies land and talking that through. That's going to be super exciting and, just be doing some more live drafts. So thank you guys so much for joining us and we will see you guys next time.